Hello and welcome to episode 13 of Lost in Chronologically Lost, where this time we see everyone's relationships just completely deteriorate.
Well, not all of them, just most of them.
Right. How did you like these episodes now that we've finally actually gotten to the Jin and Sun stuff that I said is so good?
You underestimated me, that's how I feel.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Because you said that Jin and Sun were your favorite backstory.
Yeah.
And then you said, well, maybe I won't like them as much as you because we like different things a lot of the time.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, how would I not like this a lot? This was insane. I think these two episodes, maybe the best episodes yet.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you like them.
Yeah. I mean, and not just, Jin and Sun were great, and I need more of that, but, also, in general, a lot of the other stuff in these episodes were also great to me.
Oh, for sure. There was no whack season 3 plots in this one. It was all together. So, seeing as this episode starts with Jin and Sun, let's hop right into it.
So I think we began with Jin, reporting to his boss, his dad-in-law, and then he's actually getting a promotion, and he has to go. He tells the environmental secretary, that Mr. Pike is very disappointed in him.
Right, and you can see when he shows up just how afraid this environmental dude is. And I was thinking, because I mentioned last podcast that I was like, I thought the Jin and Sun stuff was more spread out. And then I realized the only reason it is not is because when he goes to the environmental dude's house, his daughter is watching TV and it shows Hurley as the lottery winner in the background. And that's the only reason it has to be so condensed.
Yeah, I caught that. I was like, wait, really? It's like, sure. But, I had this kind of read on Jin when he came in there, that he's good and loyal at his job as a gangster, but he has no subtlety. He comes in and he's just like, hello, I'm here to deliver a message. When it's I feel like, the real experienced gangster, they come in, they say something clever, they imply things, and Jin is just very straightforward with it.
Well, it's like when you see, because remember, he got, promoted at the beginning of this. And I think what it is that originally he was just working in the hotel management thing, right?
I thought in the factory. Managing the factory or something like that.
Something like that. And then he got brought into sort of the, inner circle workings where he's, schmoozing with ambassadors like we saw that whole thing with the panda and everything. And now this is now you're getting into the serious stuff with the actual threatening of government officials. Yeah,
because, see, my read on it was he feels like he's kind of missing something with how he's supposed to do his job. And then it's he was supposed to beat the piss out of the guy, I forget his name.
Right.
And instead he just said he's disappointed in you.
Yeah, which, I don't know, seeing as how afraid of this guy was, you'd think that maybe he'd take that as I guess not, though.
I just feel like, I get that he didn't deliver the real message, but I would have expected, the secretary to, still get the message and, know that this wasn't going to go well to him if he closed the factory.
Yeah, I could see if this was some new guy who had come in and didn't know this stuff, but clearly he knew. So,
this wasn't beating him up, but this was clearly you're not going to get away with this.
Right. And he's, so thankful that he's not getting beaten or killed, that he gives away his dog as a gift, which Jin then gifts to Sun, which I have to say, because these two flashbacks were in different seasons, those are two completely different dogs. You can easily, one is grown and the other is a puppy, but okay. Yeah, so this is an interesting thing
it's kind of just, it's also just hilarious to me that he grabs the dog from his daughter.
Right, yeah, and this is an interesting thing where this whole sort of backstory with Jin really becoming the violent kind of guy to work for Sun's father. We originally saw all of this only from Sun's perspective, and it was only later that we see it from Jin's perspective.
That is really interesting. That actually sounds see, you would assume. See, because during some later scenes, it made me think stuff like, yeah, it's kind of framed. I didn't realize it was doing it, but I was feeling like, oh, wow, it's framed as though Jin is, like, this violent gangster type. And then it's like, damn, I know he is more than that.
Right.
And that's actually...
It's also weird in that the scene where he's washing blood off of his hands, Sun is, like, yelling at him saying, you know, what do you do for my father? Which is, like...
You know.
Yeah, there was a flashback, again, a flashback that happened later in the show, where she goes to her father and she says, oh, I've pretended not to know what you do. So she knows. She knows what, like...
I mean, I can kind of see it because, like, she's so mostly disconnected from what he does.
Right.
That she, like, is now having to confront it, but...
Yeah, and there's an important thing here where, you know, after he gives her the dog, she says, you know, oh, remember when all you had to do was give me a flower? Like, he so wants to live up to this very high expectations of, you know, upper crust society, whereas she just doesn't care about it.
What I was thinking around now is that I don't want them to end up like Jack and Sarah. And unfortunately, as we see in these episodes, it kind of goes that way, although I don't know how it'll end. But I was just thinking around here, like, yeah, he works long hours and obviously has to beat people up. But he works long hours and, you know, they don't get to spend enough time together. I'm like, come on, don't let that ruin it. Communicate. You guys are my rock. And I have some faith that it'll end up kind of alright because I know, like, they're both on the island. I have that whole Jin plotline that still hasn't been resolved where he needs to find Sun, which I'm not going to get resolved for so long.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking here, like, come on, don't screw this up. Unfortunately, as we will see.
Well, you know, as you know, they're both going to end up on the island, so they're going to be forced to spend time together for a while. Anyway.
Because I think, I guess to drop a prediction now, I was thinking, like, oh no, I was hoping, like, oh, do they get back together? And then it might end up being like, no, they're not together, but they end up on the plane together. But then maybe they fall back in love while on the island. That's what I'll hope for.
Yes, but now we're going to get a relationship that is just not salvageable at all.
Oh, yeah.
Jack and Sarah, where he has stolen her cell phone and is calling all the numbers in it.
Yeah, and he's giving this whole line where he's like, oh, I found this woman's phone on the train. It's like, oh my god, Jack. You calm the fuck down.
This is so pathetic. Like,
I mean, it's like you're, not only are you trying, like, he's obsessed with getting the guy's name, but then he's also, like, trying to, like, stalk him and, like, find out everything about him.
Yeah, when again, Sarah will point it out to him at the end of the episode, is that it's not that this random guy was so amazing, it's that you weren't there for Sarah, and it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it's over.
Yeah. He's, like, you gotta recognize your own mistakes, man.
Right, and then he finds out that one of the calls was to his father.
Yeah,
and to be clear, in this scene here, his dad just straight up tells him the truth of, she called because she was worried about you, which is literally what they were talking about. But
and, like, it's like, Jack, you're being so paranoid. And the thing is, like, her calling because she was worried is, like, the most believable story.
Well, technically, he did lie because he called her because he was worried.
Yeah.
But, like,
but even then, like,
same difference.
that being the reason they were in contact, that's, like, that's not weird. Like, yeah, Jack, no shit they would do that. Like, so there really shouldn't be anything suspicious about it. And maybe because Jack doesn't recognize that he's the problem, he doesn't recognize that they were talking because he was the problem.
Right. To the point where he later sees his dad just answering a phone call and, like, laughing and smiling.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing he sees of that, and immediately assumes,
and he's like,
it's my ex-wife.
Oh my god,
like,
Jack.
It could be 8 million different people. Like, what does it...
And of course, it's still after a month of having had sex with the Thai girl.
Right, exactly. So in character for Jack.
And also, so Jack, he calls out his dad for being a drunk. And what was the line about it being obsessive or not?
Oh, he said, you know, don't talk to me about being obsessive because... Well, I mean, to be fair, Christian, not at this time, but for the rest of Jack's life, had been an alcoholic.
Yeah, and
will continue to be after this.
Yeah, as we see. But all I just wanted to be is Mr. Pedantic and say, I mean, being an alcoholic isn't obsessive. It's addictive, but, like, addictive stuff you have less control over, whereas being obsessed, being that paranoid about your ex-wife, Jack, like, that's on you. Alright, so next we see Jack just following his dad because he saw him laughing with someone on the phone. And it's like, holy
completely
shit,
normal
Jack.
behavior.
And like, Jack, he's in his scrubs where I'm like, did you do this right after work, or did you abandon work for this? I would honestly see him abandoning work for it.
Oh, I totally see him doing that.
And while we watched him follow his dad go into the room, and then he goes in right before we see what it is, I'm like, oh, I bet this is an AA meeting. And yeah, it's an AA meeting.
Right. And even that's not enough to snap Jack out of this, because he still...
No, it makes Jack snap.
Right, exactly, because he's just so obsessive, and he goes on some rant about how his dad, always thought less of him and didn't do all this, so clearly his dad is sleeping with his ex-wife.
Yeah, it's just like, I feel like, I get that Jack has a lot of issues with his dad, which are warranted, but, like, do you really think he goes to AA meetings to rant about how much he dislikes his son?
Yeah. And even especially the point where, Christian says to him, he's like, Jack, I'm your father. I'm not... like, obviously I'm not going to sleep with your ex-wife. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, and then Jack tackles him.
Yeah.
It's like, god damn.
Yeah. So Jack gets thrown into, some jail and gets bailed out by Sarah.
Yeah,
and he's still obsessed.
Arrested.
He's still being like, who is it? Who's that guy? Which, it's Phil Dunphy. That's who we know. It's... joke wasn't as funny the second time.
Sometimes it is. Don't give up.
Right, and it turned out that, Christian had called Sarah because he was so worried about Jack, and that was actually what caused him to stop drinking for a little while. Although, obviously, after this incident, he goes right back to it.
Yeah, so when we get stuff later, okay, the next Jack plotline, it felt to me like it came in an earlier season than this did, honestly.
Well, it did, but I think this ties in really well, because it was the
ties...
point that he had tried, and then that this incident just made him go, nope, back to
so
drinking.
What I was thinking during that is like, it doesn't connect poorly, but it doesn't connect perfectly. But then one thing I was thinking is like, part of the reason your dad is still drinking, Jack, is 'cause you kind of ruined his sober streak.
Yeah, but still, it is still Christian's choice to continue that.
Yeah.
And,
so,
Sarah, she says to Jack, like, two really important things. She's like, it doesn't matter who he is, it matters who you're not. And then she says something that is so cutting, but is so true about Jack, where she says, on the bright side, now you have something to fix.
Ooh.
Just cuts so deep. So. Then we get another time flash.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And honestly, I mean, this filled in the gaps. This was where Charlotte is about to die. I didn't really feel that much from this. It was just, at least in this specific case, it was just too disconnected, too out of context. Yeah.
Yeah, but she does tell Jin to make sure to never let them bring Sun back, because the island is death. Right, and then there's a bunch of nonsense, and then time flash to Rose and Bernard.
Not much to say about it. This is so sweet. They're at, is that Niagara Falls or just some other beautiful falls in like Hawaii?
Well, they live in New York, so I imagine they could go to Niagara.
Yeah, I guess it's like, did they actually? The show was shot in Hawaii.
That's clearly a green screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or did they just green screen it? But yeah, Niagara Falls is nice, and he is acting not impressed, and then he's gesturing to the waitstaff, and it's all like, that scene in Spider-Man 3 where he's trying to gesture to the waitstaff and it keeps going wrong. I can't not think of that here.
Every scene in that movie is the best scene, though.
It's a funny movie for ways it was intended to be.
Your hatred of the early Spider-Man movies is nonsensical. Anyways, He proposes to her, and
he's like, I've been single for 56 years, which is like, yeah. And, okay, he says they may have only been together for 5 months, and I'm like, okay, yeah, 5 months, it's fast, but it's not too fast. It's not like you did it after 1 month, but then it's also fast enough that it's like, yeah, these people are old. They're not here to waste their time.
Especially Rose, as she reveals that she has cancer, and the doctors have only given her a little over a year. Which is
awful to hear, but I'm gonna say I have to predict she gets her cancer Magic Island cured at some point.
Well, we know that she lives at least 3, because she flashed with them through the time to 1974 and lived to 77. Yeah. So, she lives through that.
Good for her.
And of course, after all this, Bernard's just like, you still didn't answer my question. And
she's like, and that's what she that's what she, like, you haven't answered my question. I think that's what she wanted to hear, because she wanted to hear that he's still committed, that it doesn't matter how long they can spend together, they want to do it as married people. Just, it's so nice.
Right. Then we get Hurley, who is enjoying his winnings.
He has like a Hummer.
And some really whack clothes that you never see him wear this type of clothes again. Yeah, I guess maybe this is probably why, but then we hear all this bad things that happened to him. So after his grandfather had a heart attack, the priest at the funeral got struck by lightning, and then his brother's wife left him for a waitress.
It's so much. And also I like when he's like, are we cursed? And he just slaps him like, we're Catholic, curses aren't real.
Right, and then he does thing where he blindfolds his mom to try and show her the new house. And
I mean, just
her ankle, and the house
and then
burns
the house
down,
is on
and then
fire,
the cops show
and then
up.
the cops, which is just so, like, when the cops show up, I'm just like, okay, what the hell? Like, Hurley's plotline is great because it's like, there's so much, like, it's bad luck, but it's so over the top that it's funny.
Oh, exactly.
Without ruining the effect, but it's just really entertaining. Like, they show up to arrest him.
Yeah, and so anyway, now we get more Jin and Sun, where she's prepared this huge dinner. And first, work calls immediately, and he's like, nope. He puts his cell phone away, he's done. And then they call the house phone.
The factory is closed. It's like, you delivered the message wrong, you idiot. Yeah, he was supposed to beat the shit out of him, because I was like, yeah, Jin had no sense of subtlety. Then Jin goes in to do it. Well, I was thinking, like, Sun's dad should have known that Jin is a nice boy, and if he really wanted Jin to beat the guy up, he should have said, like, I feel like he should have been more clear. I feel like it's easy to guess that Jin wouldn't realize what he's supposed to do.
But so he says, he's like, this guy will show you how to really deliver a message, because he's gonna go murder the man.
So because of that, Jin, he goes and beats the shit out of the guy, traumatizing his wife and kid.
Mm-hmm. And at the very end, he leans in and says, I just saved your life.
Yeah, which is like, that sums up, like, the stuff Jin, like, that sums up what makes Jin interesting in these situations. The fact that, like, he doesn't want to kill people, but then he has to do this shit, and he's willing to. Like, he's not too scared to smash the guy against the ground and punch him in the face. Like,
right.
Also, he's just, like, actually strong and badass.
Oh, for sure. And then he comes home to wash all the blood off of himself, and Sun is like, what the hell? What is this? Like, why do you have blood all over your hands? And he refuses to answer. To the point where she slaps him. See, this is real drama. Now, I'm not going to shit entirely on the Jack and Sarah drama. It was character-driven drama. You don't spend enough time with it. You're too devoted to work. It's not working out. It's believable. It's realistic. It was well acted. It was well done drama. But this is real drama, where not spending enough time together is only the first layer. Then we get, he has to beat the shit out of people for his work, and he doesn't want to tell her the details, and she's scared of what he's doing, but he's only doing it because of her dad, because of a deal they made, which was only, like, this is real drama. Oh, absolutely. This is why it's my favorite backstory.
Yeah.
Like
they are just, like, the fact that this situation is really not easily solvable.
Right, and, as soon as she leaves, he starts shaking and crying over all this.
Yeah, that got me. That was sad. And so that was that something we saw before we knew like why he was doing these things?
No, it wasn't. We just saw Sun's perspective. And then we get some more Desmond, which is, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. We see him, he enters the numbers.
I noticed. I don't catch most of the numbers thing, but of course I caught that one.
Yeah, so when they say Desmond had to push a button, the buttons he had to push were, the numbers and enter them into this computer.
Yeah, which is, sure. I do think, like, you could just set up a computer system to do this literally. Like, why would you need a person here?
Well, I guess he basically asked Mr. Krabs that. He's like, why have us push this button? And here's the thing. They've already given you all the pieces as to why you have to push this, right?
Have they?
They've given most of the pieces. It's that this whole hatch experiment, right? It was designed before they had even hit the pocket. And so it was like, they're like, well, we already have this whole system set in place. Why don't we just also use that to contain this electromagnetism?
What was the system for before that, then?
There will be a clearer answer later, but what do you think it was for?
I mean, literally the only thing I can even guess is, like, this just seems like if you wanted to do an experiment of what happens to people when you trap them in a single place and wake them up every 108 minutes, that's what would happen.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. They're just like, they had designed the psychological experiment, and then when they needed to use it for an actual purpose, they're like, well, we already built this psychological experiment part, so we'll just do both of them.
Is this the Swan? Is this like that?
Yes, this is the Swan. The Swan hatch.
So is the big important secret purpose of the Swan this random psychological experiment, or is that just a side thing, but the main thing was,
Well, the thing is, the psychological part of it is over, because Dharma has been wiped out. So it's just... But it does do what Mr. Krabs says, which is that, the electromagnetism builds up, and then it gets, released easily using the number system.
So basically, if Desmond knew how to program a computer, he could save their asses from this shit.
Basically, but do you know how to program 1970s whack computer things that were programmed by someone as insane as Redzinski?
Yeah, understandable.
Right, so we see also that Mr. Krabs is drunk, and he has this, this key, and...
to just let it all out, I think.
Right, he says this is the only other way out, is to put the key into the thing and turn it, and then it all goes away. And
which I think...
So here's the thing that Desmond says that's interesting, but it's actually not. Is he says, what's behind this wall? Because it's like, what is it? And people wondered this for a long time. I think in the video game, they showed that you could get behind the wall somehow, but it's a video game.
It doesn't matter. Game?
Yeah, it's whack. Don't worry about it.
No, we have to play it for the podcast.
Oh, I am never touching that. Not in a million years. But, there's nothing behind there. What's behind there is, if you were to open it up, you would see nothing, because it's just a giant pocket of electromagnetism. That's all there is.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe they were thinking... I don't know if they were thinking this far ahead, because they did reveal this in the season... I don't know. Anyway... Maybe if there was, the wheel was in the Swan part, that would be, a big thing of what's behind the wall, but they decided to have the wheel be in a different station instead.
I think it's at the Orchid, because that's where the well was.
Exactly, the Orchid. So I'm like, maybe they were toying around with that there is something behind there, and then they decided to put it somewhere else. I don't know. But the point is, there's nothing behind there but electromagnetism.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could see some of the island's light or something, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I like the line Mr. Krabs says, which is, do you have the courage to take your finger out of the dam? Which, it seems like Desmond will eventually, and that's why the plane will crash.
Oh, so you think it'll crash because he turns the key?
Well, no, not the... Maybe, okay.
Because, it's not that Mr. Krabs doesn't say take the finger off the dam, but take your finger off the dam and blow it up instead.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the key. I I mean, obviously Desmond is going to not do what he's supposed to, but I don't know if he's just going to fail to press it or if he's actually going to turn it. Maybe he just fails to press it and that causes it, but then, like, do we use the key as something that's during the main plot?
Okay, well, that's, we got a lot of interesting plot threads going on. And one that is less interesting is Kate.
Kate, I mean...
She's just somehow made her way to Australia.
Yeah, is this literally just to explain why she would be on the plane?
Yep.
Or, like, why she'd be in Australia? Because
yep.
I'm kind of guessing that maybe... Because of that line that is still in my head about, oh, Kate would be in handcuffs, I feel like she gets caught and they're bringing her back on that plane. So maybe she still gets caught.
Conclusion.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong and there's information I don't know. But yeah, this just seems like she went to Australia, sure, that's how that made sense. And it's like...
Yeah, she just gets a job working at a farm with a dude who has a fake arm,
Yeah, and it's just like, when she's calling herself Annie and claims to be Canadian, going on a trip to find herself, and it's just like Kate before this, I feel like there's no reason to think her next thought would be, I want to go to Australia. Now, I could see her in general thinking, I got to get out of this country, and then deciding, okay, I'll go to Australia specifically. Just arbitrarily. But,
yeah.
It
doesn't matter. The point is that she's here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
I think we're probably going to get one more bit of Kate backstory that's going to be, her getting caught by the marshal and getting on the plane.
Yeah, well, there isn't much backstory left, so...
Yeah.
Then we get more Sun and Jin, where we see them...
They're both looking super attractive.
Oh, of course.
I'm guessing... See, I'm guessing that shirtless Jin is even better than Sun in that night dress.
No, you're wrong.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she does the spin. You can't beat the spin.
Yeah.
So
but Jin is showing all that skin. That's why I'm assuming.
Well, whatever. And so they've been trying to have a baby for a year.
Yeah.
And it leads them to have a fight. And Jin eventually tells her he thinks that maybe if they gave her father a grandchild, that he could get a safer job. Which... Yeah.
Look, Jin, having a baby is never the solution unless your problem is wanting a baby.
See,
it will
here's
not
the
fix...
thing. What I actually wrote was, I was like, wow, this seems like maybe the one situation where having a baby would solve things. I was like, it has to be this specific scenario, but it's the only one.
Maybe. Because, I don't know, I just feel like it wouldn't... I feel like if anything, that would make the father be like, oh yes, you have honored our family by continuing our bloodline. I'm going to give you an even better promotion to the inner circle.
But I think once you get enough into the inner circle, you're just like, Mr. Pike himself, where he doesn't have to go do anything. He just tells other people to go do things. But anyway, now we get Jack, who is doing the surgery.
Yeah.
Where I have to say, the surgery, when the woman flatlines, they bring out a defibrillator, which, no, that's not how defibrillators work.
Okay.
And then he goes to do compressions, which is good, but he does them in, they're the worst compressions I've ever seen in my entire life. So obviously this woman dies. They're going to say it's because Christian was drinking, but it's because Jack doesn't know how to do chest compressions.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. See, I was just thinking, because you said that, properly done chest compressions, they break the ribs, right?
Yeah, so obviously you cannot do them on a person who was not actually...
Yeah.
But get a dummy. Just put the person's head in. They're under a sheet thing. Just have the person's head in and then have a fake
Pretty much.
And don't use a defibrillator in this scenario. What? No.
So I don't want to dwell on it too long, but Jack here... I mean, it seems like at this point Jack got over Sarah.
Yeah, it's been some time, at least.
Which, I mean, it's reasonable enough that he would get over her. Yeah, that would happen eventually. But it also just is this plot line was in an earlier season.
Kind of feels like the Thailand thing should have been after he attacked his dad, and then before this. Because, I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason.
The
I'm
Thailand...
sure the reason is something like we see him with tattoos at one point during the... other thing, I don't know.
Really, the Thailand thing shouldn't be in the show, but yeah, that had to be somewhere.
It's there.
Yeah, so he and his dad are arguing, and it's like, it's kind of funny to me that like the whole dynamic was, Jack just was wrong and paranoid and everything, but now we get Jack like being right and definitely more stable, which is, I mean...
Well, here's the thing. Jack in his personal life is a mess. But as a doctor, he's very good.
Yeah. And this is like this is just an easier to root for Jack, where Jack is a great character and it was done well, but I got pretty frustrated with Jack earlier, and now I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm with Jack.
Right. They do some whole thing where Jack basically says it's his father's fault that this woman died because he was operating while drunk.
Yeah. And there was the whole exchange of like, I had to come up from upstairs because like a nurse told me, and it's like, well, though you were upstairs, they called me, and even though I was at a restaurant, it's like, how many drinks did you have at the restaurant?
Yeah, but that is like a point where he basically throws in that, like, just undercutting Jack and like, I'm a better surgeon than you because they asked me when I was, even more indisposed than you, like. And so they.
Well, anyway, then he wants Jack to sign.
They have to write a report, and during this whole confrontation about writing this report, you see Christian go through every single stage of possible manipulation. First, he goes through, it absolutely wasn't my fault. He goes through, I know I was a bad dad, but you have to help me out with this because I made you the best surgeon. And then he goes,
which is all
to, this is all I have, so don't take this away from me. He goes through every single one to try and hit all of them.
It's just like, I have had to sacrifice certain aspects of my relationship with you,
like,
so patients will live. Asshole! That is just complete asshole. Which is like, back during the wedding, like, he acknowledged, like, yeah, I wasn't a great dad, and there was a little bit of genuineness there. But then, once his medical license is at risk, he's falling back to like, oh, everything I did was necessary.
Right, yeah. And he ends it with basically saying, yeah, it is my fault, but just please don't turn me in.
This is my life. And the thing that I feel like made this so entertaining, I mean, just as like a contrast to how much Jack was the bad guy for a while, now it's just like, yeah, his dad is in the wrong, and Jack has all the leverage. It's up to Jack. Like, there's no, like, oh shit, like, is Jack gonna get called out for it? Like, Jack is basically in complete control of the situation.
Yeah, and... Well, anyways, now we move on to Sun and what she's doing.
Well, no, there was a little bit more.
Oh, right, where the husband is threatening to sue.
Yeah, that kind of is malpractice.
Not kind of, it legit, it is. It's straight up malpractice. It is bad practice.
So then we see Sun, and it's fucking Asian Lex Luthor again, who apparently is back because it didn't work out with his American girl.
I have to think they just didn't have that many Korean actors on hand in Oahu. But hey, like you said, he only knew the Harvard girl for 6 months, so it makes sense that it maybe wouldn't work out.
He was just being a horny ass young guy, and he still is being one basically. Because, I mean,
well, not yet. She's just teaching her English right now.
No, at first it's that, but I knew immediately to be suspicious of this.
Oh, of course. As soon as they both bent down to pick up this thing.
This was the one thing where I messaged you while watching, and I was like, oh, I do not trust this, and. Yeah.
Hey, it takes two to tango, so.
Oh yeah, I am not happy with Sun in this episode.
She also isn't telling Jin that she knows English because he'll
like,
ask why.
Which is like, okay, I later understand she wants to leave, which is a whole conversation we can get into when it comes to that. But just here, I'm thinking like, why is this whole secret thing? Why can't you just say, Jin, hey, I'm going to start taking English lessons. Why can't you take English lessons from somebody who isn't this guy also? But just it's like, it's only such a secret and such a dangerous thing because you're making it that, Sun.
Yeah, but then they go to a fertility doctor and he tells them that because due to Sun's, I don't know, medical issue things, I typed it. Endometriosis
scar tissue blocking the fallopian tubes.
Right, that, because I know what that is.
The tubes, man.
And Jin gets mad at Sun for being infertile, which is like dick move.
dick move.
And
she's like, yes, I was trying to trap the son of a fisherman.
Yeah, she knows how to cut deep. Like,
yeah, I get that you guys are upset at this news, but like, come on.
Yeah. Then we get a whole scene with Claire, where the only thing of this scene is that her boyfriend dumps her, and we're never going to see this dude again. He's not important.
It seemed very like he was the one who wanted to keep the kid, and now he just can't handle the responsibilities. And it's like, I mean, yeah, you seem like the kind of person who's not ready for it. I still think it could work between them, and I still think they could grow into the responsibility, but they have to be willing. They have to be willing to try. I mean, I think someone can be where he is emotionally, and then once the kid is there, figure out how to be a good father. But he's not going to, because he's giving up.
No, he leaves. That's that whole scene.
Oh wait, what? There was one thing about it where he came in, and I think he put beers in the fridge, and I was just like, oh, he's not breaking up with her, because if he was, why would he be taking home beers and putting them in the fridge? And yeah, if he's breaking up with her, why did he?
I don't know. I didn't care about the scene at all, honestly.
Well, anyway, then we get Jack, and they're at like a hearing, and they're talking everything, and only now does Jack find out that the patient was pregnant.
Yeah, which causes him to inform the panel that his dad was operating under the influence.
Which is just, like, it's tough, it's sad, I understand the emotional difficulty because you are screwing over your father, but it's the truth. Like, yeah, he's telling the truth here.
Exactly, yeah. And they don't show the entire thing, but it's like, yeah, his dad loses his license, and...
Oh, yeah. It's like, damn, and I respect Jack for making that choice, but I feel for him for how hard it is.
Yeah. Then we move on to the next episode, where we're back with Claire, and she goes to the psychic again.
Yeah, and she wants a reading, and they make little jokes, and he knows the boyfriend left, sees something blurry, and says she has to raise the child. Like, father doesn't matter. Someone else, not her raising it, it'll be very dangerous. Her goodness have to influence the child. And it's just like, you're gonna end up on the island soon, so like, how relevant will this even be?
Well, if she ends up on the island while pregnant, I mean, who else is gonna take care of that baby?
Well, if she ends up on the island while pregnant, is she actually gonna be able to give birth?
Well, Rousseau was able to give birth. Remember what Juliet says, is that it attacks... It happens in the second trimester. Yeah, so if you're only there in your first trimester or your third, you're fine. Yeah. But you can't be there for months 3 to 6. Is that the third? I don't know. Wait, no, that would be 4 to 6, right? I don't... Mm-hmm. Whatever.
She'll be fine. We have... I think we have some months.
Yeah. No, and nobody ever said my math skills were good. So...
Anyway, then Sun is still with Asian Lex Luthor, and she's good at English. She says, I can't have children. And she's going to America and is leaving Jin, and I'm just like, God damn, man.
Yeah, but then Asian Lex Luthor is like, no, I want you to stay in Korea to be with me. Which, whew.
Fuck this guy. See, I so wanted Sun and Jin's relationship to be my rock. In the way that Bernard and Rose actually are.
No, I was going to say, no, Rose and Bernard are the rock of this.
I so wanted them to be my rock, and it's so making me sad that this is happening.
But it is. It's just non-stop drama with those two.
Now we get Hurley. He's talking with his accountant. Let me just say, I consider this portrayal of an accountant offensive.
I thought it was hilarious, so...
Yes, it is hilarious in a very offensive way.
Can you explain?
Not all accountants are like that.
Well, but some are.
Okay, name one.
I don't know any accountants other than my aunt.
Maybe. Okay, is your aunt like that?
I've never done business with her. I don't know.
Okay. Alright, I'm not gonna go there, but Hurley is getting all this money, but it's always from bad things happening. Although I think the settlement from the police thinking he's a drug dealer, that's not on the same level as a sneaker factory burning down.
Right. Yeah. It's so basically all his stocks are doing numbers. They mentioned that he owns a box company now. Maybe that'll be a thing.
Is that actually important?
It's just a little side thing. And they do also mention that when his sneaker factory burned down, 8 people died because the numbers keep haunting him.
And they're just like, no such thing as bad luck. Guy falls off the building.
Right. Well, also the accountant asked where he got the numbers, and Hurley realized, he's like, oh, it's not the money that's cursed. It's the numbers. I have to shake off this numbers thing. And also, and then the dude commits suicide off the building there. Which some people I've seen think that is Locke getting pushed out a window, even though it is absolutely not. The timeline does not match up in any way.
And also that I don't think that looked like him, and that didn't look like this was...
It's not him, but for some reason there's some people who think it is.
The building Locke was pushed out of was clearly an apartment building. This is like an office building.
Yeah.
Anyway...
I don't know. I think it's just a funny scene just to see all this bad luck follow Charlie.
It's so over the top that it's hilarious.
Yeah. Then we get Sun, who the fertility doctor drives up to her and is like, "Hey, so I lied to you about your medical."
And it's because, and I was thinking, oh, did somebody bribe him to, or maybe someone's bribing him to tell her this now? But it's like, no, he thought Jin was a gangster who would burn down his practice for saying that his sperm were too weak.
Well, if that's the reputation that, Pike Industries has, I can't blame him.
It's like, that's true, but it's still like, damn, Jin is so misunderstood. When that was the drama in, season 10 of Friends or something, they didn't get mad at the doctor.
Is that a joke? And they did?
I'm pretty sure they didn't, but then I realized I barely remember that. So maybe they did and I forgot about it.
Anyways, now we get back to Hurley, who is trying to go see Leonard in the psych ward.
Yeah,
and that's just dude that's a dude who's climbing some shaky ladder trying to change some light bulbs.
No, not here. Not right now. Don't do this shit.
Right, and he goes to see Leonard, and Leonard, who clearly has not said anything but the numbers in however many years, suddenly freaks out and is talking coherently when Hurley says he used them.
It's like, you used those numbers to play the lottery? And it's like, it says you opened the box. It's like, it's crazy. And he says you got to get away, far, far away. And I'm just like, get away? Like a deserted island. But unfortunately, the numbers are there too.
Oh yeah, the numbers. But we've seen why the numbers are there, at least on the hatch thing, which is just...
Yeah.
That's the serial number. Oh, I also forgot to mention, you know what else those numbers are on? They are on the sort of vaccine thing that got injected into Desmond.
I don't even remember that.
It happened right when he got washed up. Mr. Krabs injected it into something.
But then Leonard says something about, Sam Toomey. Is that a name I know?
No.
Okay. In Kalgoorlie, I think that's in Australia, which is okay, Hurley's gonna go there. Sooner or later. Not yet, but he will.
Yeah, originally this was this is why he went to Australia, and then they did another flashback with his dad before he goes there. Which is fine, just because I think the stuff with his dad is funny, so it's yeah.
Yeah. And now Sun is just straight up sleeping with Asian Lex Luthor, and I'm just like, ugh. It's just so disappointing. That's I don't even
hate
feel,
to see it.
I don't even feel mad at Sun. I just feel disappointed.
Yeah, I remember. I just watched a reaction to the episode where this happens, and all the people who were watching it was a multiple person thing. As soon as they showed Sun with Asian Lex Luthor, they were just screaming angry over the fact that she did that. Right, and then her dad just bursts in,
also,
which is nightmare.
Yeah. I just want to point out, okay, Son, you're mad at Jin because he is violent, and so you think that this guy is better. This guy, he participates in violence too. Class violence.
Oh my... Well, so does she, by existing as the upper class.
They're the rich.
Yeah.
They are just rich enough that they don't have to get their hands dirty.
Yeah. Anyway, then we go back to Hurley again, where he has bought this chicken shack, Mr. Clucks.
Which is... it's like funny, but then he's like so depressed during this conversation.
Right. Also, he mentions that his friend stole his girlfriend.
Yeah, Starla. So, I'm like, damn, that really sucks.
That's a cold move.
Yeah, and I'm also like, if he's feeling this sad, why did he agree to do this interview?
I think Hurley's just the kind of guy who doesn't say no to things.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, it's funny that Randy works for him, and then
it gets hit by a meteor.
CGI ass meteor.
Like, it's so... Yeah, again, this is why I love Hurley's backstory, because it's just, it's a comedy of tragedies. It's so many over-the-top bad things happen to him.
This is good. This is good.
Right.
At first,
also,
I thought it was...
It's a funny thing because when these episodes, obviously these episode titles were shown, the title for this one was just Trisha Tanaka is dead. And everybody who saw that was like, who the hell is Trisha Tanaka?
That's great. And see, at first, when we saw the crash, I'm like, or when we about to crash, I was like, is this a plane? Is this a plane crash into it? No, it's a meteor that has much stronger meme factor.
And then Hurley's mom is like, oh, I can show you that we're not cursed because your dad came back, which he
also, I just want to say, I think this parallels like a lot how Hurley was originally like in the psych ward because he was depressed because like he blamed himself for others dying, and he's kind of in that same situation now.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot happens to Hurley.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not, I mean, even if the numbers are cursed and use them, that's not your fault. That's the numbers' fault. It's like, it sucks that the guy who is so positive and loving and optimistic goes through all this kind of shit and has to just become depressed because of how bad the stuff that happens is.
Yeah, but, I mean, we know we know at least one more bad thing is going to happen to him.
Yeah.
With a plane crash.
But so, yeah, his dad is back and, like, yeah.
Yeah, looking exactly like he did when Hurley was 10.
Yeah.
Because all I did in that flashback was slap a wig on to Cheech. So
Mr. Pike, he brings Jin in, and I kind of respect his honor in like its own criminal way. Where yeah, he's not being good here, but there's kind of is an elegance to like he is going to have Jin get revenge, kill the guy who was having sex with Jin's wife, without forcing Jin to know that was what was actually happening.
Right,
or,
yeah.
Like,
he tells Jin that this man is stealing from him, and shaming him. And it's like, it's not wrong if you're using that in a metaphorical sense.
Yeah, it's obviously not like a good way for things to go. I mean, there's murder involved. And also, like, part of me wants Jin to understand things, even though it would destroy him. But it is like I kind of respect his dad-in-law for thinking of this solution, you know?
Right, and he calls Jin son for the first time.
Yeah, and I feel like that's got to be hurting him, like, because I don't think he's not being ingenuine with that. I think he does like Jin as a son.
I think so too, but I think he also wanted to apply that extra pressure for this murder to happen.
Yeah, but I think he wouldn't have used that if he didn't feel, and I feel like that's part of the reason he is so hurt by it, because it's not just his daughter, but his son being shamed.
Right, and then he and Son have a very tense dinner.
Yeah.
Where Son says that, why don't they just run away? We can just go somewhere else. But Jin refuses to.
And Son really should just tell him the truth. But one thing I thought might go somewhere but didn't was that he had the folder with, like, Asian Lex Luthor's picture, and I think he maybe left it there, and I was wondering if, like, after he left to go kill him, Son would find it and realize what he was doing. It would have been whack.
Yeah, but he attacks Asian Lex Luthor, and he doesn't even know like why. He's just been told to do this.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Asian Lex Luthor knows immediately. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry for everything.
Yeah, and it's like, part of me is like, oh, is Asian Lex Luthor going to say something that, like, sorry for having sex with your wife, and Jin will realize? But he doesn't. Jin still doesn't know. So, like, Jin doesn't even know, like, what he was accomplishing here. And this is just where I really start to think, goddamn, this is easily one of the best backstories, goddamn.
Yeah, but once again, Jin refuses to kill This guy, he just tells him, he's like, flee the country and just never ever come back.
Yeah, and also, I love the line where Jin is like, do you know why I'm here? And I'm like, Jin, you don't know why you're here.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Jin, he beats the shit out of him. He says, leave the country. And then he gets back in his car, and guess who lands on his car?
Yeah, I guess he just killed himself out of
just like,
despair. I guess he really wanted to be with Sun,
shame.
Considering he got the necklace before he jumped, you know, all that. Anyway, now we're going to get another tense dinner with Hurley and his parents.
They have these butlers, the Trons, and like lasagna and burgers.
To be fair, that lasagna looked horrible. I don't know why they said that looked good.
And so, like, I know later on Hugo says reconnecting with his father was the best thing he ever did, and like, we don't have that much backstory time.
He didn't say reconnecting. He's just giving him a second chance.
Oh.
And he hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, so I'm wondering how much we're gonna see. I'm wondering what it will be.
Right. So they have a whole.
Anyway, he's
dinner,
like,
and he says, "Oh, he only came because he wants the money," and the mom says, "No, he came because I called him."
Yeah. So. And well, I think first he starts saying, "You'll give away the money," and he's telling the chefs to leave, the butlers, that you're gonna survive the curse. Here, take all this money. I think after that, his mother turns Jesus' face away and
covers Jesus' ears
and says she has needs.
And I love Hurley's reaction to this. Just...
Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's also revealed that Hurley has kept that old car the entire time. So clearly he does still have some, at least mixed feelings for his father if he's kept this car around the whole time. And, then we see Sun at a funeral for Lex Luthor. And her dad shows up, and her dad says that she shouldn't be there. And one thing I do like here is that Sun says, "Oh, please don't tell Jin," and he goes, "It's not like, my place to tell him."
Son, you need to tell him. This needs to be resolved. And the fucked up thing is, like, Jin is not going to stop loving her. It's like, Jin is a good man, and like, it's almost, it makes me start to think, like, does Sun deserve that love?
It's complicated. I mean, we'll see this play out a lot more.
You know what? It's like, okay, I'm a little harsh there, because I understand Jin was not spending enough time with her. He fucking yelled at her for being infertile, and he's, you know, being a violent criminal, so I understand everything Sun was going through. But then when you resort to cheating, I'm just like... And cheating on Jin, man.
Yeah, well, she was planning she's planning to leave him and run away to America. Or I guess Australia, in this case.
Anyway, I want to mention, I also really like how that ending to, like, killing the guy played into Jin's whole arc of, like, whether or not he's actually capable of being a killer. Because, like, here, he totally would have gone back, and then his dad-in-law would have been like, no, you were supposed to kill him. But now, instead, now he still could not bring himself to kill someone. But then it seems like his father-in-law thinks that he is the one who threw him off the building.
I mean, that would add up if you saw it from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, so it's like Jin is kind of getting away with it. He is not going to get in trouble with Mr. Pike. He still hasn't had to directly face whether or not he can kill someone. He kind of had an easy way out of it here because the guy killed himself. And I'm kind of interested to see if that's still going to go further.
See, I think it will, but I don't know exactly. There's you know what? It will be explored more. It will.
Alright. I mean, maybe it just will be on the island, which I'm fine with. Like, there's a lot of time left for it.
Yeah, I don't have every single moment of the show in my head, so...
Yeah, that's part of... Like, this is also just a rewatch for you. It's not just my first reactions.
Right. Then we get another scene with Claire where basically she gets a call from the psychic who says he has a plan, and she's like, I don't care, I'm putting the baby up for adoption, and don't worry about it.
Please stop bothering me. You know, because it's a TV show, and because this psychic, unlike a different one we see, is clearly implied to actually be onto something, yeah, he's probably right, but, so because it's a show, yeah, But, like, realistically, being a rational person, she is totally right. Like, why is this crazy guy, like, harassing you in the middle of the night for this shit? Like, get a restraining order.
Yeah, it's... Anyway, then we get Saeed, who has been picked up by the CIA.
Finally more Saeed stuff, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
And they think this is in London. So...
It might be... Yeah, it doesn't matter where they pick him up from, because they sent him to Australia.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, oh, is this, like, is he caught for something? Is his past catching up for him? But instead, I think it's implied that...
he was traveling illegally, so...
Yeah, but I think it's implied they picked him up for, like, basically nothing, or just, like, traveling illegally. But they're like, yeah, we want this favor from you. Like, they picked him up.
And they say, we need you to infiltrate this terrorist cell. He's like, I'm not a terrorist. So, and they go, no, but you were roommates with one. So, you're going to use that as an in.
Which,
and
like...
To be clear, he keeps saying, I don't care, like, whatever, I'm not going to, until they're like, we know where Nadia is, so you're going to do this.
Which is Australia. Everybody is converging towards Australia, which is kind of... Like how I talked before about how, like, everything's going to be my epic crossover episode. This is just like seeing everybody to converge towards Australia is kind of hype.
Yeah, well, they all have to be there somehow.
Yeah. So Sun is then seeing some lady talk about redecoration, but actually it seems like this is like somebody who helps people escape from their lives and is helping her plan for that, which is like, damn, this really sucks. I really wanted to believe in Jin and Sun.
Right, and here's the thing. This is why Sun and Jin are going to be in Australia, which is that they have to fly to Sydney to give a gift to some businessman, and then they have to fly to LA to give a gift to a different businessman.
Yeah.
And they have this whole plan where once she gets to Sydney, she's going to make an excuse, she's going to get out of the airport, she's going to have to hide for months until they think she's dead. Like, but this is her plan to get away.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just like, how's it going to go? Like they're both going to be on the plane from Australia, and I mean, they're going to be on the island together, and I'm just like, is her escape plan not going to work out? Is she going to still be with Jin? Or is it going to be like Jin is chasing her? What? I don't even know.
Like maybe you'll see.
Well, either way, just like I need to figure out how they can be happy together.
That's going to be quite a trial.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we get a whole scene with Sawyer where blah 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 with a girl.
It's like he's with a girl, and it's like, is he scamming? Is he scamming, or is he just horny?
Well, he probably is, but he gets interrupted by this other con man who says he knows where the first Sawyer is. So
yeah, and it's like Australia, and just it all lines up. I feel like there's not much to say about this scene, but just when I said before, like, I kind of had enough. Like, I feel like the Sawyer backstories we got were good, but that was kind of most of what we needed. I didn't realize we would actually address this just because it went so long without being mentioned. But this feels like this is the real Sawyer backstory. This is what we should have been seeing with him. This is like the real character-defining stuff, where everything else in his backstory feels kind of like filler compared to this.
Well, the stuff where he is with Cassidy, that's not filler.
Yeah, that's not filler because he has a daughter. But like a lot of the rest, it's like wow, I didn't realize I would actually get this when I was saying I didn't expect necessarily more Sawyer backstory.
Right, but anyway, after this tense scene with these two con men, then we get another comedic Hurley scene where his dad comes to wake him up and he's got noise-canceling earphones for the
to
noise.
Not hear them. Oh my god.
And he goes, well, yeah, your mom is a passionate woman. And he goes, that's so disgusting. Like,
oh my god.
I love Hurley so much.
But then he's like, do this thing with me, and if it doesn't work, go to Australia. It's like, damn, they're gonna break the curse, and I expect it to be some real shit, and then it's some street psychic kind of thing.
Right, who caves almost instantly into the lieutenant's face.
1,000, like she does the tarot cards, and that's already not my thing. And then she tells him to remove his clothes, and then she starts making a witch's brew, and that's when he's like, $1,000, $10,000. Come on, dick move, Hurley's dad.
Yeah. And then we get a really emotional scene with Jin going to see his dad for the first time in however many years.
That was great. And there's all this shame bullshit. I mean, even the plotline of Asian Lex Luthor and everything, that was about shame. There's so much shame involved, and I know we don't really agree with that as a value. And it's just like so nice that Jin actually apologized, threw away that stupid shame, because his dad is the only man worth a damn in this show.
Yeah.
The only father worth a damn.
Mm-hmm. And his dad says, hey, you can still start over. You can still, it's more important to be with Sun than for anything else, right?
Yeah. And also, he doesn't reveal that he met Sun, which is like, yeah, probably better not to. Don't cause that drama. He's a good man.
Right. And, Jin says, oh, we have to fly to Sydney and then LA to give gifts. And he says, well, make that the last thing you do. After that, just leave. And it's like, Jin's like, yeah, which is so heartbreaking to know that Sun is planning to leave him in the middle of this.
It's awful. And also Jin just helping him work on the fishing is like, I'm just happy to see it.
And so then we get a scene with Saeed where they're praying at a mosque and he meets with the terrorist dude.
Yeah.
Whose girlfriend
had
died. Also, when they go back to their the apartment, they're playing Half-Life, I think.
Yes. That absolutely was Half-Life. I recognized the graphics immediately, and they say, like, oh, use the crowbar, and I know that I like that game a lot more than you, but I'm happy that they put a classic in there.
Yeah, it's always nice to see when you have people playing an actual game for the time period in video games. It reminds me, I saw a clip recently from, I believe, Smallville, where you have Lois Lane, and she's, like, playing Dynasty Warriors 4, and it's like, a weird choice, but that is a pretty accurate game to be playing. So.
Yeah. Well, honestly, Half-Life is a classic, I will say. And I definitely just appreciate actually picking something like that instead of,
generic
I
Mario,
feel like, yes,
Pac-Man,
or Mario, Pac-Man, but also I feel like sometimes I see shows basically make up a first-person shooter because it's the whole generic idea. I mean, even with the dialogue here, it's like, oh, I'm out of ammo, just like, oh yeah, that's how they write people playing video games. But then it actually is Half-Life. They have the crowbar.
Yeah, it feels like one of the writers liked Half-Life and knew at least enough to write 3 lines of dialogue for it.
What I will say is this is 2003, 2004, right? Which was this 2004?
Yeah, 2004.
Well, all I'll say is Half-Life came out in 1999. And 2004 was when Half-Life 2 came out.
So now maybe it was Half-Life 2.
No, it was Half-Life 1. They look very different.
Well, they are poor, so.
Well, no, the thing is, so I'm not saying it's a plot hole. I'm a Half-Life fan. I want to talk about it. But Half-Life 2 came out a few months after this would have taken place. I think it came out after they got stuck on the island.
There's going to be one thing that's so funny. They're going to bring this up, and there's this. You're going to laugh so hard when they bring it up because they wrote it, and then they wrote this thing, and then immediately in the real world it got proven false. But they already committed to writing it as a repeating thing.
Oh damn! Okay,
yeah, you'll laugh when you see it. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
I have no idea what to expect on that. That could be so many things. So
I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, don't spoil it. I'm just So these guys
shows where he rips out a bug in their thing, which he's clearly been told is there, and is going to use that to gain trust.
So and it's I wonder how moral, because I don't know most of the details on these guys' terrorism. They do have a bomb. They do have a lot of material for bombs. On the other hand, are they fighting for a real cause? Do they think they're freedom fighters? I don't know everything.
Okay, this is this is Australia, and it is 2004, but I don't think Australia was involved in anything really in the Middle East, at least not that much.
I think they probably were to some extent, but because I think a lot of countries were. But I think the CIA people said something like they want to disrupt the coalition of countries fighting in the Middle East. So,
right, which is
So I think
Australia probably wasn't too much involved as opposed to
I feel
U.S. and
the
England.
United States. Canada was there too.
We were, but not as much.
Yeah, but
we dipped a toe in.
Yeah, I wonder.
You guys cannonballed right into that.
Yeah,
and then are still drowning.
If they didn't need to put Saeed in Australia for the sake of the plane, I wonder if it wouldn't have just made a lot more sense to put these guys in America.
Yeah, probably should have been.
But it definitely, this plotline. We only got a little bit, but I'm definitely really curious to see what happens with this.
Right. So, I would ask how you feel about this, but you clearly said these were your favorite
episodes.
No,
these were great episodes.
I love the Sun and Jin stuff, so that's
yes,
amazing.
The Sun and Jin stuff was fantastic. I mean, it was a great, real drama. Sun disappointed me, but it was powerful drama. I want to see how it's resolved. I want to see them be together. The early stuff, we got a little Bernard and Rose. That was great. The early Jack stuff was kind of whack, but I really liked the brief Jack plotline we got of his father being an alcoholic. The Hurley stuff was all great. Even and then the little bits we got with Sawyer and Saeed were both bits that got me really curious to see where they go. So these were very successful episodes.
Yeah, see, I'm surprised you said this was your favorite because there wasn't even any Locke or Michael.
Yeah, okay. I'm not making a specific ranking, so if maybe I liked the Locke ones. Maybe I liked a Locke episode slightly better. Maybe the Michael ones that really made me feel something outweighed. I'm not worried about that. The point is these episodes were great.
Absolutely. And we're almost done with these backstories because the next two episodes, those are pretty much the last backstory, I guess, So we only have 2 episodes left. So what are things that you absolutely need to see before this plane crash?
Okay. A lot of them are just obviously they're going to play out. Sawyer is going to confront, his con man, and he's going to confront his con man and then end up on the plane. A lot of these characters, they have one last thing to do, and then they end up on the plane. Sawyer has to do that. Kate has to get caught by the marshal and then end up on the plane. Saeed, there's a little more than one thing. We have to see what happens with these terrorists. But then that's going to play out. He's going to end up on the plane. Hurley, something has got to happen with Hurley's father to make him decide it was worth it. But then also something has to make him decide to go to Australia. And I guess he has to talk to whoever Toomey is.
He's already decided to go to Australia.
Yeah, but I guess something, or maybe his father will come with him to Australia. I don't know. Maybe that could work. But then obviously he has to talk to Toomey and get some information on the numbers, but obviously not the full answers, and then end up on the plane.
Because
Jack,
the full answers are magic, so.
Yeah, and so a lot of these things, I'll say I want to see them, but it's they're things that well, no shit, I'm gonna get them in some form. So who else? Jack, I think, is a little more up in the air because honestly, what I really want to see is just Jack and Claire having a talk, because I can't help but guess the reason Jack might go to Australia is maybe I should talk to my dad's other child just to have some kind of understanding because they're technically my family. I just feel like that'd be interesting, so I kind of hope something like that is what brings Jack to Australia.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, I want that because it's, crossover episode appeal. Because when I first found out that they had the same dad, I was kind of thinking, are they going to end up on the island together and then at some point realize, wait, our dad is the same person?
Well, how could they realize that, though?
Well, the thing is, I know, obviously, it would be tricky. But then the thing is,
Claire
at one point...
she doesn't even know his name, so...
Yeah, but then the thing is, Jack said at one point to his dad, I know you had a second family. That was a few episodes ago.
Did he say second family, or he just knew that his dad cheated?
I thought he actually said second family, but I'm
he just said he knew his dad cheated.
You know what? I don't know for sure, but either way, he knows something. Maybe he has a conversation with his dad about it, and that's in the next episode. Maybe after losing his medical license, his dad wants to go to Australia, and Jack goes with him.
To see his child who hasn't betrayed him?
Yeah. And so, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I I'm greedy, I'm impatient. I want to get that crossover episode good shit before we even end up on the island. I want to get it as soon as possible, basically.
Right. Well, I mean, it should be said that, the plane crash is going to be the ultimate crossover episode from your perspective.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. And not just the plane crash, but, like, the entire plot from there on.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Yeah. Because it's not just going to be everybody who's off the island meeting, because then they're also going to obviously meet Ben and Juliet and Desmond, like, all of them.
Who else? Am I actually never going to get any more Miles backstory than what I've seen?
You'll get a little bit more.
Okay. I mean, alright, I don't know. What else? I want to see a little bit of Locke doing walkabout things. I guess he's at the point where he is probably can already walk, so I don't get that. But I want to see just. Obviously, I think I'll get to see him getting on the plane, but I want to see a bit of what he was doing before getting on the plane, and. I don't know if I can expect more Michael. Why would Michael be in... I have no idea what to expect from Michael.
Right, but I think you're going to see all this little backstory as to how everyone connects in the next two episodes, which are episode 23, September 2004, and episode 24, September 19th to the 21st, 2004. So I hope you join us again next time.